Hello all, welcome to this session on UPSC Prelims tricks. Today we'll learn few tricks which will be helpful in our UPSC examination so that we can maximize our marks and save a lot of time. Now let us start and let us hack it. But before hacking the tricks, I would put a certain disclaimer in front of you. What's the disclaimer? The disclaimer says that risk is something which will always be attached to certain types of tricks. So before taking the risk, you will have to use your knowledge with respect to your preparation so that nothing else goes wrong. Okay? And for that, you will have to read each and every statement and each and every word very carefully. Now let us start the hacks. So the first hack says that the May effect. Now what do you understand by May effect? So if you analyze the previous year UPSC questions and if you analyze the answers to these questions, you will notice that there are questions in that certain statements have certain words such as can be, is it possible, could be, might be. So what this statement does, this statement increases the scope of that particular statement and that the subject it is related to. Now if you consider this question with reference to fly ash which is produced by the power plants using the coal as fuel, which of the following statements are correct? So the first statement and second statements in that it can be used, so can be used in the production of bricks for building construction. Can it be used? Why can't it be? So it's a possibility that this statement is asking you. The second statement also says a certain possibility. Now what is that possibility? That it can be used as a replacement for some of the Portland cement contents. So by our hack, the possibility effect always makes the statement correct. So the first and second statement becomes correct. So if you analyze the options over here, so the answer to this becomes option number A, that is 1 and 2 only. So yes, if in a particular statement, if there is a May effect or if there is a possibility, that is you are noticing some kind of possibility, so that two statements would be most probably be correct. So this is the hack, and always remember the disclaimer that is in context to every question that we are dealing with. Yes, there may be some kind of exceptions also. Now let us move on to the second hack which we will be seeing. So the second hack says that extreme words. Now what this hack says and what are the extreme words? Now in UPSC question there are certain statements which has some kind of extreme words. Now what are these extreme words like? So very recently, only, all, drastically, enormously. So if you notice this kind of extreme words in the statement, so what this does is it increases the ambiguity of that particular statement at times, and sometimes it reduces the scope of that statement or that particular thing which the statement is talking about. So this statement in most probable of cases are incorrect. That is by our hack. Obviously you will have to use your knowledge every time while considering our hack. So in this statement it is talking about with reference to the Indian Ocean Rim Association for regional cooperation, which of the following statement are correct? So the first statement, it was established very recently. Now what is very recently? Is it the timeline that is given to you? The answer is no. So it doesn't talk about it. Very recently can be yesterday, can be day after tomorrow, can be just before few hours. So very recently you do not know. So this kind of extreme words create some kind of ambiguity in front of you. So you are unable to come to a conclusion. So by our hack, you can directly eliminate this kind of a statement which are very ambiguous in nature. Now the second statement, it is an alliance meant for maritime security only. So it reduces the scope of such a cooperation or organization which is for a regional cooperation. So by logic also you can come to a conclusion that it cannot be only for the maritime security. It has a broader scope. So by our hack, that is by extreme words. So if you notice some kind of a extreme words in your statements, you can eliminate that two options. The answer would be neither one or two. Another example of this kind of a particular hack is most likely advantage of implementing GST it is talking. If you notice the second and third question, it's a previous year question of 2017. So if you notice the second and third statement, it is talking about it will drastically reduce the current account deficit. So it will drastically reduce the current account deficit of India and will enable it to increase its foreign exchange reserve. So when we hear about this word drastically, a thing comes to mind ki what is drastically? Is it some kind of a, so it is not quantifiable what is being mentioned over there. There is no certain word, digit that is given, there is no certain percentage that is given. Similarly, it will enormously increase. It will enormously increase the growth and size of the economy. How large it will increase, it is not mentioned. So by our hack, you can directly eliminate this two statement. Also, if you again move further to this statement, it will overtake China in near future. So is the timeline being given by the statement? The answer is no. So this is ambiguous in nature, and yes, you can eliminate this two option. So the answer to this becomes one only. So now let us move on to our next hack, that is in this digit word. Now in UPSC examination, many of the question has certain digit statements mentioned in the question. For example, in the statement, it is the orbit is an altitude of 20,236 kilometers. It is given regarding the satellites. It's a previous year question of 2011. Now, if certain digits in terms of the altitude, in terms of the weight of the spacecraft, in terms of the year of the organization or any summit, so if this is mentioned in the statement, either the digit or either the things associated with this digit, that statement becomes wrong. I'm not saying that only the digit would be wrong. I am also saying that the things associated with the certain digits. For example, there is a summit. The question talks about a summit in a particular year, and the place is also given in which it is here. So either the place or the date which is mentioned, the digit would be wrong in that particular question. So this kind of hack you can use to eliminate the statement. I am talking about just the statement in which the digits are mentioned. So if you eliminate the option number 4, directly you can come to a conclusion that yes, your answer is 1, 2 and 3, that is option number A. So this hack can be used in many of the places, but do remember our disclaimer that there is a risk attached. So first and foremost, use your knowledge to trust. Now let us take another question of 2014 previous year question. If you notice that Agni 4 missile question was there, so a digit was mentioned that it can deliver 1 ton of nuclear warheads about 7,500 kilometers away. So by our hack, you can directly eliminate this kind of a statement, and also by our previous hack, you can eliminate the second option here too. So the answer to this becomes A, that is 1 only. Another hack of ours that we will term it as institutionalization. Now what do you mean by this? There are certain questions in your UPSC examination which talks about any certain national level institutions, international level institutions, or any schemes attached to the national level or international level. Now, what is the first aim that we should be doing when you are across certain questions? uh, find out the domain of certain institutions or schemes or organizations, and in that domain increase the scope of this organization. Now every organization, every scheme tries to maximize the benefit among its stakeholders. This is one thing that we will have to remember. Now if we consider this particular statement, which is of previous year question 2017, which was National Agriculture Market Scheme, and what are its advantage? So let us find the domain in which this National Agriculture Market Scheme is there. So it's a national level one, and it is regarding the agriculture market. So in a way it will talk about agriculture market, it will talk about farmer, it will talk about the pan India market. So if we are now finding our domain, and after this domain we have already found out that the scope will be beneficial to its stakeholder. So if we consider this, both the statement here would be correct. So the answer would be both 1 and 2. So you can use this kind of a hack when certain institution related questions are asked to you. Let us move on to our next hack, that is we will term it as the inconsistency. Now what do you mean by inconsistency? Now there are certain questions in the UPSC exam which have statements which are inconsistent with the question which is asked or the subject in the question. So you can directly eliminate that. Okay, that is one thing. Now the second thing is, there are certain statements in the question too which are contradictory to each other, and most probably in most of the cases your answer will lie in that two statement. For example, 2011 question, if you consider this question, the question says that the function of heavy water in a nuclear reactor is to, question statement A and B says either slow down the speed of the neutron or increase the speed of neutron. So in such kind of question where contradictory statements are present, most probably your answer lies between these two statements. Most probably your answer lies between these two statements, and here the answer is A, that is slow down the speed of neutron. And this will apply to questions which are which have a single answer, which have a single statement wise answer. Another example of this kind of hack would be the ball bearing question, which appeared in your 2013 preliminary exam question. Ball bearings are used in bicycles, cars, etc. and the reason is asked as to why this ball bearing are used. Now if you look at the B and C statement, so it talks about the effective area of contact between the wheel and the axle is increased, and the third statement said that it is decreased. So by applying our hack over here, we can come to a conclusion that answer lies between these two statements. Now comes the part of your knowledge. So after applying our hack, it's your knowledge that will play a role in that. So as we have earlier told, the disclaimers are always attached. There is a risk attached to this certain tricks, but yes, you can use this kind of risk given that you are also using your knowledge in this. So yes, now certain questions also are important in a way that you can approach certain questions by making some kind of a very normal sense to this kind of a question. Now if you consider the last 5 to 6 years and UPSC, certain science and technology questions are regarding the very utmost development that is happening in the current scenario. It may be the GPS system, it may be the 3D printer, the smartphones, electric vehicles, the Wi-Fi. So these are very much in news, and these are the one which UPSC is also considering for framing certain questions. Now what we have to do, we have to maximize the scope of the technology, because every day and night there is development in the technological aspect, and given that certain questions are key, in which of the following areas can. So again, by applying our logic 1 also and by making certain sense, that can it be used in controlling the power grid? Yes, why not? Because the world has technologically moved ahead so far that it can be used in everywhere. The GPS technology can be used everywhere. It's a very normal sense to come to a conclusion to certain question, that possibilities are one thing that is being asked in certain question, and after making some sense also you can come to a conclusion that yes, 1, 2 and 3 does make sense in coming to in GPS being used over there. And then comes the part of our logic. So there are certain questions in your UPSC examination which, even if you or the topics in the particular question, even if you do not have a very good knowledge about that question, you can by your logic come to a certain conclusion. For example, take this type of a question. It talks about recognition of prior learning scheme. Prior learning scheme, so is sometimes mentioned in the news with reference to. So what the question talks about? It's about recognition. Now, how do we recognize something, right? How do we recognize something? By honoring something, by giving something to someone, right? By giving a particular place or position to someone. Now, and certifying that is a good way to recognize something. Now, here you can eliminate the option B and C by this. So it becomes certifying and certifying. So both the option you can keep in the loop. Now, if you move further, recognition of prior learning scheme. Now it is talking about recognizing your prior learning scheme, that this you have already learned something and now you are recognizing that particular thing. So if you consider the option D, it is talking about certifying the skills acquired by trainees. So you are first trained, then you are getting that skill, then you are certifying that. But the question talks about prior learning. Then already somebody, that individual had already learned something and now you are recognizing that. So if they consider the first statement, certifying the skills acquired by construction workers through traditional channels. So it is talking about the construction workers certification, the skills that they have. So first by this logic we can come to a conclusion that by reading the statement very clearly, very carefully, you can come to a certain conclusion by applying a specific logic over there. So the answer to this become A. And then our last hack is regarding our self-awareness. Many of the times you do not require certain knowledge about any science and technology, any polity, or any particular current affairs in solving certain question. So some questions are solved by just being self-aware. Either you are self-aware or you notice something in the society that is being developed. So, for example, take this question of 2019 in the context of wearable technology. It is talking about the wearable technologies. It may be the smart watches, it may be the smart bands that we are using. So which of the following is or are accomplished? That is talking about accomplishment by this wearable devices. So normally either you are using it in now day-to-day life or you see others using it. So what are the possibilities? Same question which was there as the GPS system. So location identification of a person, sleep monitoring, assisting the hearing impaired person because it has a vibrating elements too. So this is one thing that you can come to a conclusion, that by being self-aware also you can come to a certain conclusion that these options are correct. So these very hacks, again a big warning or disclaimer is put in front of you that before using all this hack, do keep your knowledge upfront and your hacks afterwards. Thank you.